Good morning. This week's writing tip is getting support for your writing. My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm an academic and legal coach, and I worked as a lawyer for many years, and I work as an academic and a coach right now, and all of this involves lots of writing. So every week at 10:30 on Friday, I pass on what I've learned about writing in the last decade with you. So my tip this week is to go ahead and hire that editor for your writing team. This month, the theme has been in the writing tips getting support for your writing, right? The first in this series was focused on the importance of social writing. We've looked at accountability and having someone who can make sure that you're moving along. And last week, we took on getting high quality writing techniques. And this really fits in well with that because this week I'm going to talk about hiring an editor. Editors are yet another way that we can have our writing supported. So in academia, it's often frowned upon for you to get an editor to help you with your dissertation. With that said, sometimes it's actually necessary to do that, to get that extra support. So while your dissertation committee is brilliant about the subject matter that you're writing in, it doesn't mean that they're very clear on how to provide effective support and feedback on your writing. My advisor used to write vague, and I wasn't sure what that meant. It's not their fault. It's how they were taught. And it's often assumed that you either have the talent to write or you don't, right? It's not a process that you work on. So they don't actually have a lot of thoughts on systematizing the writing process and guiding people through it. So getting an editor is a really important part of the support that you need to do a dissertation, right? However, it's also normal that you would have an editor support writing once you've actually working on a monograph or getting that first book published. So don't shirk at this level of support, right? You have to keep the same level of guidelines, however, in getting the feedback on your work generally. So let's walk through some of those, right? Number one, you should know that there are many kinds of edits and you have to communicate those to your editor. When you're handing something over to them, be very clear about what you want them to do, right? Because as we said last week, they can edit for structure, they can edit for argument, and they can do copy edits. And they can do a combination of all of those, and there are other kinds of edits as well. So you want to be very clear with them about what kind of edits you want them to go ahead and do. When deciding to hire somebody, clarify that they can actually do the kinds of edits you're handing their way, right? Maybe they're only copy editors, maybe they do other kinds of editors, but be very clear about that. Secondly, you need to be very clear about your production schedule. When is your manuscript due? How much time, and built into that is how much time are you going to need to integrate their edits into your work? Don't take it for granted, because if you think through these issues in advance, you're not going to be caught off guard for time. You're not going to be like, oh my gosh, it's due tomorrow, right? This means you have to have a hard deadline about finishing your draft of whatever it is you're writing. Keep in mind that consistent and persistent writing daily or near daily on your work will make a massive difference so that you're not jammed up later. You don't want to do all your writing all at once in a whirlwind in 3 months. There are a couple other issues that you need to make crystal clear about the relationship with an editor, right? Number one, they're not free. And I know you know this, but I want to bring this home, right? Make sure that you have a clear sense of what your budget is for editing. And then as you interview potential editors, make sure that you're clear and upfront about what their pricing is and whether or not you can actually do that. You also want to be very clear about deadlines. Think about your production schedule again. When do you need the work back? What could really happen if they have a load of work to do? They may not be able to get it back to you in that deadline. They might charge extra for having to do it quickly, right? Make sure that they can actually deliver when they said that they can, otherwise you're going to be jammed up. So having an editor can be a really important part of your writing team. To make it work that way, make sure that you are, number one, clear about the kinds of edits that you need to work on. Two, that you're clear about your production schedule so that you can meet your dissertation and publication deadlines. And three, communicate with them about the costs of their work and whether or not they can actually meet your deadlines. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to send me a note. I actually do editing if you're interested. If you haven't before, go ahead and like the page so that when these writing tips upload, you'll be automatically notified. And go ahead and sign up for my newsletter in the links. It will be swift, be sharp, and so long. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.